RWBY has had a huge and colorful cast of heroes and side characters, and of course, the villains. RWBY has had an impressive rogues gallery of a whopping 10 characters, and that doesn't even include some of the smaller roles. But bigger isn't always better, and in RWBY's case, the cast could definitely do with some trimming. Which isn't good. With such a huge villainous cast, they should be a force to reckon with. They should be the main threat our heroes have to face, but unfortunately, they all leave a lot to be desired. But why are they so disappointing? How exactly did these antagonists go so wrong? Well, that's what I'm gonna figure out. However, since there's just so damn many of them, it would be impractical to try to look at them all right now, so follow me along this exciting journey to find out what makes RWBY's villains so bad. Adam has the honor of being the first ever villain introduced in the series. He was also the first character introduced to us who wasn't one of the 4 main girls, and he was the first character to actually get a speaking role. That's a lot of firsts, and he immediately had us all hyped. Who was this awesome ninja dude our new black-haired friend was hanging out with? The Black trailer features Adam just as prominently as it does Blake, almost more so. True to her nature, Blake is quiet and never really takes the lead. Adam is the main driving force of their operation. Blake's passive nature meant that Adam gets to be in the spotlight, so we really get more on his character than we do Blake's. He even got the big glamour shot of the trailer with his moon slice, and we were all so excited to see more! Who is he? What's his relationship with Blake? We wanted to see more of him, and his rifle katana, and then we didn't. Throughout Volume 1, we were able to put 2 and 2 together, figuring out Adam has something to do with Blake's sordid past with the White Fang, but that's about it. Despite being such a prominent figure in the Black trailer and getting everyone hyped to see more of him, he doesn't show up in the show proper until the last episode of Volume 2. We got nothing to add to his character throughout all that time, except for Blake sort of subtly mentioning him here and there, but she doesn't really tell us anything about him we didn't already know. Then, after he finally does show up at the end of Volume 2, he fucking disappears again, only showing up for minor appearances in Cinder's backflash, then finally entering the story proper during the Fall of Beacon, which was again at the end of that volume. It's so baffling the way they've handled Adam. They set him up so well, yet they just don't do anything with him. We get no new info on his character, or his motives, or anything. The most we get is the answers to why he's helping Cinder. She threatened him to do so. Nothing else. He's just as much of a question mark as he was in the Black trailer. However, finally, in Volume 3, he arrives on scene like the fucking Shakespeare villain he is. He gets a brief scene with Blake and Yang, and suddenly, I was interested again. When Blake left him, it did a lot more to him than we thought. Adam's not just a terrorist, he's a psychopath. He's crazed, he's ruthless, he's an abusive cock who's clearly mentally damaged by Blake's betrayal. He hits Blake and is menacing, he cuts off Yang's arm! He dealt the most damage than anyone has to our 4 main girls, and he did it effortlessly. The wait seemed to be worth it. Despite his absence in the show so far, I was intrigued. He's the most threatening presence our heroes have had to face, and he's got a gigantic vendetta against 2 of our main girls. What'll happen next with his character? Well, apparently fucking nothing! Once again, Adam just disappears from the fucking show. His only appearance throughout all of Volume 4 is a brief PTSD nightmare from Yang. Why do they keep doing this? Adam is arguably the most well-constructed villain in the show. He's a threat. He has a past with one of our main characters. He's specifically hunting her down. They've put together all the building blocks for Adam to be a really interesting character and a threat for our heroes, but then they just don't ever do anything with him. Adam's biggest flaw as a villain is that he's never on screen despite the fact he's in the White Fang, who has been the girls' biggest opposing force throughout the early volumes. Team RWBY are constantly mowing through hordes of White Fang soldiers, but Adam never shows up. We see Torchwick talking to White Fang members. Why wasn't Adam ever present during those meetings? While I'm on the White Fang, I'm gonna take a break from Adam to focus on some of the other prominent figures of their ranks. Like, the Lieutenant. Remember him? Well, neither do the writers. He makes his debut in Volume 2, and that was the end. He's there with Adam and Cinder's backstory, but like, that's it? Why? What was the point of him? So Weiss had someone to fight on the train? He mentions hating the Schnees, but that's all the character we get out of him. It's so confusing to have a whole big setup for his character to just suddenly and quietly drop him from the show. Did he die on the train? I guess, because he's not at the attack on Beacon. It's a shame, because he could have been a really interesting character. Adam's new second-in-command after Blake left, one who's devoutly loyal and has a grudge against Weiss. But instead he just vanishes for no reason, despite having an epic setup on the train. Kinda like Adam, huh? The only other members of the White Fang worth mentioning are the Albane brothers, a couple of weird, sneaky dudes who do nothing but monologue about shit no one cares about. Seriously, they show up in Volume 4, and then have one conversation with Gira, and then just leave. Their next appearance puts them in the line of fire against Gira, where one gets arrested and the other dies. Fennec and Corsic Albane have literally no character. Even though Adam and the Lieutenant had minimal screen time, this all gave us at least an idea of what their characters might be. The Albane brothers just give us nothing. They're emotionless and kind of monk-like, but that's not enough to go on. Despite being on screen so much, throughout Volumes 4 and 5, they're nothing. I don't know what they are, and I don't care, because now they're gone. Why were they in the White Fang? Why are they okay with killing people like Gira? Anything? No? Worst of all, you can't even tell them apart. Not because they look similar, but because their characters are the same. There's no difference between them. So now that one is dead, there doesn't really seem to be anything different. It didn't matter which one died, it wouldn't have changed the outcome. I honestly don't even know if Corsic will ever come back into the show now that he's been arrested. Their only purpose seemed to be that Blake needed someone to beat while at Menagerie. But they already had Ilia for that. Oh yeah, Ilia. Honestly, she might be the best developed villain in the whole series. Well, ex-villain. I get the feeling they only gave her so much character development because they knew she was going to join the good guys. She's in the White Fang, but she understands it's not really the most peaceful solution. She's afraid and angry because of her parents' death, and violence seems to be the only thing that gets the Faunus what they want. She resents Blake for betraying the White Fang, but can't get over her love for her either. She's racked with conflict, towing the line between understanding Blake's mentality and hating her for it too. Honestly, everything Adam should have been. Ilia's character oddly echoes Adam, but she gets forgiven and gets to join the good guy's side, because she's an adorable rainbow girl. It's such a shame, really. Though I have no problems with Ilia joining the good guys, I just wish any of the other villains got half as much development as she did. I understand every complicated mental state of her character, and why she chooses to do wicked things despite knowing the consequences of her actions. She was only present during Volumes 4 and 5, but they wrote her character so well that she became so complex and creative for a villain. Seemingly all just for her to join the good guy side, leaving the rest of the villains to be boring and underdeveloped. It's not just Adam that got shafted. All of the White Fang for some reason get no screen time to develop, despite the fact that they have a really intriguing concept. Racial radicalism. Racism is a fascinating concept for any fantasy setting, and a group of racist terrorists being a primary villain is a really interesting concept. Blake and Adam have two similar, but opposing ideals on the racism they've suffered through. Blake wants for equality, Adam wants to make the humans suffer. But that seems to be the end of it. They never talk about the racism they've suffered through, they just talk about how much they don't like humans, so the racism aspect feels lost amidst the plot. The White Fang didn't barrel a train into Vale because they wanted to send a message to humanity, they did it because Torchwick told them to. I get it, racism is a touchy subject, but the White Fang never really do anything that relates to their racist pasts. They just seem like a big horde of lackeys for Cinder's faction. Finally, in Volume 5, we see Adam attach bombs to Haven, but why though? I know Cinder threatened him to help with their plans, but he doesn't even try to help anyone in the auditorium or anything. He just dicks around outside until Blake shows up, and suddenly, everything about his character that made him interesting is gone. Where he was once cool yet crazy, suave yet ruthless, suddenly he's just a 6th grade theater student who thinks he's hot shit. Adam insists on snarking and being condescending, despite the fact that Blake isn't fazed by him at all. All Adam does is monologue tropey villain things, and Blake bitch slaps him and sends him running away. Fucking what? The same guy who smacks Blake around and severed Yang's arm clean in half just runs off without barely even swinging his sword around? Who is this coward, and where did the threatening obsessive ex-boyfriend go? In only one scene they turn Adam's character into a joke, and I could not even pretend to take him seriously afterwards. All his amazing feats seem to just be a facade, hiding the fact that he's just a whiny little teenager who thinks he's the best thing since sliced bread. And, as you know, Volume 6 saw him return, back to being a haunting nightmare to Yang and a manic killer who's obsessed with hunting down Blake. But it's too little, too late. They fumbled so hard with his character up until this point that I just don't care about him anymore. He's not in the show enough to help give his character depth, and when he did show up, he was a joke. They can do nothing to his character to make me find him unique or threatening, because they fucked up his character so much that I doubt they could do anything to fix him. Volume 6 has him being a following threat for Blake and Yang before he really shows up to hurt or even kill Blake for leaving him so long ago. And his fight that ensues against her and Yang is exciting, but like I said, I just don't care anymore. I don't take his character seriously, and honestly his dialogue doesn't help. Adam insists on fucking saying some dumb insult or smarmy remark before he does anything during their fight. Adam never shuts the fuck up, and it makes him sound like a Disney villain or something.
But you're selfish! You're a coward! Moment of truth, Yang. Do you think you're faster than you were at Beacon? Your aura's bound to be running low. Hit me already! What does she even see in you? Or just a coward like her?
Team Rocket does crap like this, and they're not the most threatening people. And, ultimately, he dies in the end. Seemingly, some people theorize otherwise, but regardless, it seems our heroines have finally gotten him out of their lives. And we never once developed his character. Adam only ever had two settings. I want to kill humans, and I want to hurt Blake. We never learned anything about him. Why is he in the White Fang? The SDC scar on his face, standing for Schnee Dust Company, hints at a story about his abuse while working in the mines. But we never even learned about the scar until one episode before his demise. We never saw how he and Blake started dating, how he was a nice, loving man before he became the violent killer he becomes. Hell, we didn't even see the events that made him that way. We only see him as a crazy radicalist, then he dies. The closest we ever get was that Adam character short before Volume 6. However, it really doesn't tell us more than we already knew. It doesn't show his prior relationships with Blake or Ilia. It doesn't show how his character changed to be so brutal. The most it shows us is some flashy fighting animations and Adam's first taste of bloodlust. But then we jump over all the parts about his past that people wanted to know more about. I don't care about his time with Gira, or why Sienna trusted him so much. For the first time, they're actually pointing the spotlight onto Adam and his character, but they just tell us the same shit we already knew. The White Fang is a huge letdown as far as antagonists go. Despite a really good and intriguing setup, the whole group of them fall flat when it comes to execution, and honestly, with Adam's death, I think this is going to be a good thing. The problem with the White Fang is that their issues don't really match the plans of the rest of the villains. Salem's crew is trying to hunt down the relics, but I doubt Adam would even care if he even saw a relic. The entirety of the White Fang is so disconnected from the real plot of the show, and in turn it makes Blake disconnected from the series as well. Adam's conflict is only focused on Blake and Yang, to the point where if RWBY and Adam saw each other on the street, I doubt they would even realize who each other was. The White Fang plays a major role in Blake's character, but it's become a detriment for her because now it's disconnected her from the true plot of the show. After the fall of Beacon, Blake has been hiding away at Menagerie, and has in turn missed out on large plot points with the rest of the cast. While Ranger learned about Salem and the two brothers, Blake was still dealing with the same old White Fang issues. Yang and Weiss learned about maidens and relics, but Blake is still just dealing with Adam. Even now that Blake has finally joined her team again, she still just doesn't seem like a part of the plot. Everyone's talking about Ozpin, and magic, and gods, but Blake's struggle still ends up with Adam again. And you know what? I'm glad he's dead. I'm glad that they were able to really stop him because I think it's going to be for the better. Now that Adam's finally gone, it means two things can come of it. Hopefully, Blake can finally get truly involved in the story proper and not feel like a bystander of the plot. Now she can grow with her team in their attempts to stop Salem, and hopefully she can grow as a character now that the burden of Adam is no longer lurking around the corner. And also, if the White Fang does stick around, like how I assume they will, it can mean some of the other members can really get some development that they deserve. Ultimately, the biggest issue with Adam and the White Fang is their confusing absence, both from the plot and their characters in general. The White Fang is a tangled mess of disconnected plot points and characters that never get the screen time they need. It's a perfect example of having a really good premise and setup, but just a failure of execution. It's a shame that the White Fang member with the best characterization and development only seemed to get that sort of writing because she was destined to become a good guy. Because, as we'll see, there's really only one other villain in the series who gets that kind of development, and it feels like it might be for similar reasons, but that's a topic for another day. Overall, Adam and the White Fang are a mess, and I truly believe that the show will do much better now that he's dead. Despite how intriguing he was in the Black trailer, despite how vicious he seemed at Beacon, Adam's biggest contribution to the series was ultimately just one long-winded distraction. Alrighty everyone, I really hope you liked that video. I've been looking forward to doing this villain thing for a really long time, and I'm super excited to do the rest of it, and I hope you're excited to see it. If you want to, go ahead and hit subscribe and make sure you catch them as soon as they come out. And also, I made a Patreon. I have one, and if you would like, I'd really appreciate it if you would help support the channel a little bit. I have a couple of things on there that you can do. I don't know if I'll add any other things. I'm not really sure what to do with that yet, but I'd appreciate any and all help and support that you have to give. And if you liked this video, then do me a favor and like, comment, and subscribe. In the comments, let me know. What did you think? Did you thought Adam was great? Did you disagree with everything I just said? Do you think he's dead? I think they confirmed it in like a tweet or something, but do you think he's really dead? Do you miss him? Like, do you wish he stayed alive? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear all of it. And I hope you stick around for the rest of this series, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!